What would you do if you witnessed a miracle that doctors said was impossible, but everyone told you to stay quiet about it? In the 1970s, Captain Terrence Whitfield became the first black pilot at his regional airport, breaking barriers one flight at a time. But nothing could have prepared him for the passenger who would change everything he believed about the impossible. Her name was Miranda Price, daughter of automotive millionaire Seymour Price. She hadn't spoken a single word in over a decade, not to her father, not to world-renowned specialists, not to anyone. Her silence had become her identity. Have you ever met someone whose silence spoke louder than words? Miranda communicated through gestures and the most expressive eyes you've ever seen, but her voice remained locked away from a world. On what should have been a routine charter flight to the family's annual retreat, Captain Whitfield found himself grounded by unexpected turbulence in a forgotten mountain town. What happened next would challenge everything the medical world believed about miracles. If you've ever witnessed something that seemed impossible, you need to hear this story. Hit that like button, because you're about to discover how one cup of tea changed two lives forever. The year was 1974, and regional airports weren't exactly rolling out red carpets for black aviators. Captain Terrence Whitfield knew this when he walked into that cockpit for the first time, but he also knew something else. He belonged there. Unlike the major airlines that grabbed headlines, regional airports served smaller communities where change came slowly. Every passenger who saw Terrence in his captain's uniform was witnessing history, whether they realized it or not. "You sure you know how to fly this thing?" Passengers would ask, half joking but not really. 20 years of flight training and a perfect safety record. Terrence would respond with a smile that never betrayed his frustration. "I think we'll be just fine." The truth was, Terrence had to be twice as good as everyone else just to be considered equal. Every takeoff had to be flawless. Every landing had to be smooth as silk. One mistake, and it wouldn't just reflect on him. It would reflect on every black pilot trying to follow in his footsteps. But here's what made Terrence special. His compassion matched his competence. Nervous flyers found themselves calmed by his steady voice over the intercom. Families traveling to funerals felt comforted by his genuine concern. Children taking their first flights left the plane calling him Captain Terry, like he was family. Do you know someone who had to be perfect just to be accepted? Terrence understood that pressure intimately. His colleagues eventually stopped questioning his abilities and started respecting his character. Ground crews would specifically request him for difficult weather conditions because they trusted his judgment. Other pilots sought his advice during challenging situations. Terrence had built something more valuable than just a career. He'd built a reputation for being the pilot you wanted when things went wrong. He had no idea that philosophy would be tested in the most unexpected way, with passengers whose lives would be forever changed by his steady hands and open heart. On the other side of town lived a family that had everything money could buy, except the one thing they wanted most. Seymour Price had built an automotive empire from the ground up. His dealership stretched across 3 states. His name appeared on charity galas and business magazines. And his wealth opened every door in the city. But all the money in the world couldn't solve his greatest heartbreak. His daughter Miranda had been silent for 12 years. Not shy, not selective, completely mute. It started when she was 6 years old, after what doctors called a non-traumatic onset. One day she was chattering about her dolls and asking endless questions. The next day, nothing. Not a whisper, not a giggle, not even a cry. Seymour spared no expense searching for answers. Specialists in New York, speech therapists in California, experimental treatments in Europe. Nothing worked. The medical bills could have bought houses, but Miranda's voice remained locked away. She understands everything. Seymour would tell people, she's brilliant. Actually, she just doesn't speak. Miranda communicated through graceful gestures and expressions that could convey entire conversations. Her eyes held depths that seemed far older than her 18 years, as if she'd been storing up words for more than a decade. The family's annual mountain retreat had become a tradition of hope. Maybe this year, in the peaceful setting, something would change. Maybe the mountain air would unlock whatever held her voice captive. Seymour chartered private flights for these trips because commercial airlines felt too public, too full of strangers who might stare at his silent daughter. This year, He'd specifically requested Captain Terrence Whitfield after hearing about his reputation for treating every passenger with dignity. None of them knew they were about to witness something that would rewrite everything they believed about healing. The flight started like any other. Captain Whitfield ran through his pre-flight checklist, while the Price family settled into the comfortable charter cabin. Miranda sat by the window, watching clouds drift past with that same thoughtful expression she'd worn for years. 30 minutes into the flight, the weather changed without warning. Turbulence hit like a freight train, not the gentle bumps passengers usually experience, but the kind that makes seasoned pilots grip their controls tighter. Captain Whitfield's calm voice came through the intercom. "Folks, we're going to need to make an unscheduled stop. Nothing to worry about, just being cautious." But Seymour could see the concern in the captain's eyes when he glanced back at his passengers. This wasn't routine. The small mountain town appeared through the storm clouds like something from another century. A single airstrip, surrounded by pine trees and buildings that looked untouched by modern development. As they descended, Miranda pressed her face to the window, more animated than her father had seen her in months. The landing was textbook perfect, but they were stranded until the weather cleared. The town's only accommodation was an old inn that seemed to have grown from a mountainside itself. Weathered wood, stone chimneys, and windows that glowed with warm amber light. Sometimes the best destinations are the ones you never planned to visit, Captain Whitfield told his passengers as they gathered their belongings. Have you ever had an unexpected detour completely change your life? Because what waited inside that it would challenge everything they thought they knew about impossible things. The inn's proprietor introduced herself as Alma, a woman whose age seemed impossible to guess, with silver hair braided with wildflowers and eyes that sparkled with ancient wisdom. Her voice carried the warmth of someone who'd spent decades welcoming travelers. "Storm caught you, did it?" she asked with a knowing smile. "Well, storms have a way of bringing people exactly where they need to be." The common room felt like stepping into a fairy tale. Exposed beams, a crackling fireplace, and shelves lined with glass jars containing herbs, roots, and mysterious powders. The aroma was intoxicating. Lavender, chamomile, and something indefinable that made everyone feel immediately at peace. "I have teas for every traveler," Alma announced, studying each guest carefully. Blends passed down through generations. Each one carries what the drinker needs most. She prepared different concoctions for each passenger. Seymour received a dark brew she claimed would ease worried minds. Captain Whitfield got a robust blend for strength and clarity. But when she reached Miranda, Alma paused. "This one," she whispered, her weather hand selecting specific jars with ceremonial precision, "carries a voice waiting to be born." The amber liquid in Miranda's cup seemed to glow in the firelight. Steam rose from it in patterns that almost looked like words dissolving into the air. For 12 years, Miranda had refused all drinks except water and milk. But something about this moment felt different. She lifted the cup to her lips. The first sip was tentative, then another, then a third. The room fell silent except for the crackling fire. Even the storm outside seemed to quiet, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Miranda set the empty cup down and looked around the room. Her lips parted slightly. A sound emerged, soft at first, like a whisper trying to find its way home. "Thank you." 2 words, clear as crystal bells. Seymour dropped his own teacup. It shattered on the wooden floor, but no one noticed. Captain Whitfield leaned forward, his eyes wide with disbelief. Alma smiled as if she'd been expecting this exact moment her entire life. "Miranda?" Seymour's voice broke. "Did you just—" "Yes, Daddy." Her voice was tentative, but growing stronger with each syllable. I can talk again." 12 years of silence broke, like a dam bursting. Words tumbled out, halting at first, then flowing like a river that had finally found its path to the sea. She spoke about the colors she saw in the mountains, the warmth of the fire, the kindness in Captain Whitfield's eyes. The impossible had happened, witnessed by a pilot who'd spent his life believing in things others said were impossible. Word of Miranda's recovery spread faster than Seymour could control it. Within days, reporters were calling. Medical journals wanted documentation. His business advisors urged caution. This kind of publicity could hurt your reputation. People will think you're promoting superstition. But Captain Whitfield saw something different. He watched Miranda bloom, like a flower finally receiving sunlight. Her first conversations were tentative, but her confidence grew with each passing day. She wasn't just speaking. She was discovering who she'd been waiting to become. "Don't let them silence you again," Captain Whitfield told her during a follow-up meeting. "The world needs to hear what you have to say." His words struck deep. Miranda realized her 12 years of silence had given her a unique perspective on communication, on being overlooked, on finding other ways to connect with people who felt invisible. She enrolled in college to study disability rights advocacy. Her first speech was at a conference for nonverbal children and their families. Standing at that podium, sharing her story of unexpected healing, she wasn't just using her recovered voice. She was amplifying the voices of everyone who'd ever felt unheard. Seymour watched his daughter transform from silent observer to passionate advocate. His own perspective shifted too. The business empire that once consumed his attention now felt secondary to supporting Miranda's mission. The friendship between Captain Whitfield and Miranda became legendary in their community. The pilot who'd broken barriers in the sky, and the young woman who'd broken through silence, both proving that sometimes the most profound changes happen when you least expect them. Captain Terence Whitfield's story became more than aviation history. It became proof that the right person in the right moment can witness miracles that change everything. His steady presence during Miranda's transformation showed that sometimes being there for someone's breakthrough is just as important as achieving your own. Miranda's recovery reminded everyone that healing doesn't always follow medical textbooks. Sometimes it comes from unexpected places. Served in teacups by strangers who believe in ancient wisdom. Their friendship proved that the most powerful connections form when two people who've overcome being underestimated recognize that same strength in each other. If this story moved you, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to believe in unexpected miracles. Subscribe to Hamburger Halo for more stories that prove ordinary moments can become extraordinary turning points. What's the most unexpected place you found hope? Drop your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.